It's time for our city to turn a new page.
Because this mayor sold us out.
I'm Chi Ossé.
I'm Zohran Mamdani.
And I represent New York City Council District 36.
Several months later.
Let me talk about Hakeem Jeffries for a moment, who now may face a challenge from Chi Ossé, who is a member of the DSA. You said that there are local issues that Mr. Ossé should be focused on, maybe should remain a councilman. Are you saying he should not run against Hakeem Jeffries?
No, I'm saying that I think the focus should be right here on New York City. I respect the work that Councilmember Ossé has done in the council.
But what does that mean? Should he not run?
I think that right now is not the time to be engaging in that kind of a primary.
I do not wish progressives any luck in elections. I'm terrified for the reign of Zohran Mamdani here in New York. It has emboldened people like AOC. The most interesting thing is watching her triangulate on whether or not one of her fellow progressives should primary Hakeem Jeffries, because now she has to be a little bit more of a mainstream Democrat if she wants to run for president in 2028. That means she cannot serve Democrat leadership, especially if the guy who's going to primary him will probably lose and Hakeem Jeffries will stay exactly where she is. I don't think that there is a way to reprogram a progressive. I think, unfortunately, that it is an orthodoxy and a mental virus that takes over any rational component of a person's executive function. Therefore, she cannot be the head of the executive branch.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Get your popcorn ready, because we got to talk about the socialist civil war that is happening over Hakeem Jeffries' congressional seat, as you have Chi Ossé, a black gay NYC council member. He has now filed for potential challenge to Hakeem Jeffries for Congress.
NYC DSA members, this can only be done and only be tried in partnership with you. And we must try. The national leader of the Democratic Party could be anywhere in America. And by some random chance, it's a man whose millions from AIPAC become billions for bombs. And he's right here in Brooklyn. I believe we have an obligation of circumstance. It could be by anyone, anywhere, but it's us here. Over $150,000 and 1,000 volunteers are pre-pledged. This would grow capacity, not strain it. And this will grow black socialism and strengthen the movement for the sake of our neighborhoods and the millions overseas who we will never meet. I'm asking you to vote yes. We have to try.
Yesterday, top Democrat Hakeem Jeffries got a primary challenger in popular city council member Chi Ossé. This is big, with potential repercussions for the orientation of the entire Democratic Party. Not to mention, also impacts moving Zohran's agenda forward in 2026. And a major test that everyone is looking at right now is, will New York City DSA, Zohran's foundational endorsement, back Chi? I've been organizing in these spaces for years. Here's me congratulating Zohran on getting his endorsement from New York City DSA in 2024. Let me give you more of an insider perspective of what's going on. Jeffries has been the minority speaker replacing Pelosi in 2023. With a decade of time in Congress, he has middling favorability nationally, but is well-liked within his own district. Chi is a fresh city council member elected in 2022 and has outsized popularity due to his effective use of short-form videos. His key piece of legislation is the FAIR Act, major renter-friendly legislation that prevents landlords from unfairly charging brokers' fees. Chi is hoping to primary Jeffries in New York Congressional District 8, which Zohran won in the primary with 55% of the vote to Cuomo's 44% of the vote. But first, Chi is hoping to win New York City DSA's endorsement, which is run by members, rank and file members. One member, one vote, real democracy.
Now, we talked about this a couple days ago and how this is a big deal for a couple reasons. One is because I think that this guy has a real chance of winning. The reason why I say this is because he's a far-left socialist in bed with Zohran Mamdani and AOC, or put it this way, he was in bed with them. I mean, that's what we have to talk about here in this video, because there's some backstabbing going on here. We're going to talk about it. But anyways, yeah, all you need to know is that this guy is a far-left socialist, a lunatic, made from the same cloth as all the far-left lunatics, mainly considering how in the streets they are civil rights activists, right? They hate white supremacy, but in the sheets, they love white supremacy, right? They love the great white pipe, right? So again, we've seen this play out time and time and time again, okay? So again, this guy is running against Hakeem Jeffries. However, Zohran Mamdani and AOC, they're saying, hold on now, slow your roll. They are not getting behind Chi Ossé in his bid to unseat Representative Hakeem Jeffries, despite the fact that this dude, Chi Ossé, campaigned alongside Zohran Mamdani and AOC to help Zohran win the New York City election.
Zohran? Is this your train?
Yeah, let's go.
This city is the world's greatest experiment in human cooperation.
And there are those who want to tear it down and sell it out. Trump from the outside, affordability crisis from the inside.
How many more people could thrive with more affordable housing, world-class transit, and universal childcare?
Absolutely, man. They don't want people to believe they can ask for more, so we have to demand more.
Do you know Andrew Cuomo cut Medicaid?
Yeah, and he stole money from the MTA to subsidize upstate ski resorts.
Jesus Christ. I love this city. I just want it to be better.
With all New York has going for it, I just can't help but ask, why is shit not working? It's time to make New York work for everyone.
You know it.
Yes!
You're running for office.
Yeah, I'm running for mayor.
I'm running with you, brother. In this political moment, we need someone with the energy to stand up to Donald Trump, with an inspirational vision of the most our city can be. And that's why I'm endorsing Zohran Mamdani for mayor.
You can't hand New York City over to a dangerous grifter like Andrew Cuomo. Election day is on June 24th, and early voting starts on June 14th.
So, what'd you get?
Spicy chicken sandwich. They didn't have none.
Neither party's official platform, in my opinion, is good on Palestine. I don't think either party right now is doing justice to Palestinians. That doesn't mean that they're the same. I think that a Donald Trump presidency would be absolutely catastrophic. I mean, he's coming out here saying finish the job of a genocide.
There's a lot of people with our politics that are having a hard time getting there in terms of supporting Kamala Harris.
I think about the women that are bleeding out in ER rooms because they live in red states. I think about trans kids that are living in places where their entire families are trying to figure out if they need to pack up their entire lives and move somewhere else. We have to hold all of those things at once. And so to me, the conclusion that I've come to is having more people suffer to put on top of the already horrific suffering that's going on in Gaza is not something that I think I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, so some of you guys may be confused about what's going on here, right? Why is Zohran and AOC refusing to support their fellow comrade? Now, I'm going to talk about it, but first we got to get into the socialist meltdown because, as you guys know, the socialists are upset with Zohran and AOC for refusing to support Chi Ossé primarying Hakeem Jeffries. Take a look.
See, and this right here is why I did not fuck with her and Bernie Sanders' Fight the Oligarchy tour that happened recently when everybody else was fawning all over it. Because it's very easy to say, fight the oligarchy, stand up to the establishment, when it's vague and faceless and nameless. But then when somebody takes your advice and says, you know, I'm gonna primary the guy who is completely funded and controlled by Wall Street and AIPAC, you go, oh, did I say fight the oligarchy? I didn't mean ours. Similar to what Bernie said when he was asked about Chuck Schumer's disastrous handling of the government shutdown, he's like, well, I'm not gonna call for him to step down, but make sure you stand up to the establishment. Okay, so you guys want to tell people to stand up to the establishment, but then when they do in your own party, you're like, what? You didn't mean like that. Which is particularly galling because we all know that AOC has her seat because she challenged an incumbent in leadership. And remember, this is the same AOC that tried to gaslight all of us and tell us that Joe Biden was the best person to run for re-election, that he was fine. This is just the newest example of why I don't trust her. This shit was the nail in the coffin for trust. She and Bernie are hypocrites, but I already dealt with Bernie in the other video. She is a hypocrite because not only, as I said, did she get her seat in the first place by challenging an incumbent, but what I also need everybody to understand is that it's in moments like this that you realize how unserious they are about change.
Reported that council member Chi Ossé, who I just found out earlier this year that he's actually Combat Jack's son. I didn't know that. I should have known off the last name. But anyways, it has been reported that he has filed the necessary paperwork or filings to primary Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Now, if you know Chi Ossé, he's very active on social media. A lot of people like him. He campaigned heavy for Zohran Mamdani. And I think he identifies as a democratic socialist as well. Very progressive. The whole country has been watching minority leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, in the midst of this new Trump administration era. And I think it's pretty fair to say that not only Democrats, but Americans have been highly disappointed with the performance and behavior of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, but we talking about Hakeem right now. Like everybody or a lot of people have been advocating for him to be primary. That this is not a new concept or idea. But when a young, progressive, democratic socialist who represents a constituency in New York City, who showed that Zohran Mamdani is exciting and he won, he supported him, whatever, he aligns with that perspective. So you would think that this makes sense. Taking the energy from Zohran Mamdani winning the mayoral electorate in New York and extended from a council member who is of that same belief system to taking it to U.S. Congress, you would think that would make some sort of sense. But the Democrats in New York, from Zohran himself to AOC, are saying that this isn't the time. And they're not saying like, oh, we don't think, Councilmember Chi Ossé is ready. Like, I'd accept that. Just saying like, hey, we need you in the city. Like, hold back a little while. They're saying Congressman Hakeem Jeffries doesn't need to be primaried at all. What?
Yeah, it's no surprise that AOC has come out to say that Chi Ossé should not run against incumbent Hakeem Jeffries for that congressional seat. We live in a two-party system that fights to the death in order to survive, and sometimes that means absorbing really progressive politicians like AOC and molding them into the type of politicians that we all were trying to escape from in the first place. It's no surprise that she said that, but it is like so ironic, and it's a slap in the face, because when she, won against incumbent Joe Crowley, what she just said to Chi Ossé is what everyone was telling her. And I was on the Hill when she won and started, and it wasn't a very warm welcome. People were not happy with her. People felt like she had wasted political power because Joe Crowley held a lot of power in the House. People felt like she had taken that seat, that she should have waited her turn, that it wasn't the right time. So for her to then turn around and do that with Chi Ossé it's extremely disappointing, but it is not surprising. This is why I say you guys need to stop idolizing politicians.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? The far left, they're pissed off by this. They feel betrayed, hoodwinked, run amok, led astray due to the fact that Zohran and AOC have basically decided that, you know what, it's not a good idea to proceed with a full-blown coup of the Democrat Party. We need to chill, right? We need to chill for a little bit. And they're not endorsing one of their comrades to take on Hakeem Jeffries. Now, Chi Ossé needs the support of the DSA, right? The Democratic Socialists of America, the same organization that AOC and Zohran, they're in bed with. He's going to need their support. And Zohran is basically the leader right now. So he's essentially going to be fighting Zohran, his comrade, to get the support of the Democrat Socialists of America to take down Hakeem Jeffries. And again, I'm going to explain why Zohran and AOC aren't on board with a full-blown coup yet. So let's read this. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is right. Far-left city councilman Chi Ossé's bid to unseat House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is not, quote, a good idea. Per Post sources, the privileged Brooklyn radical launched his challenge against the explicit objections of Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, who focused on pursuing his agenda, not a democratic civil war. Ossé is an opportunistic twit who quit the local Democratic Socialist of America chapter years ago, saying he was not, quote, aligned with the organization itself, but recently rejoined after Mamdani showed what a force the DSA can be. Of course, he presents that move as selfless, writing in the radical journal Jacobin that he did it, quote, because the movement surge that carried Zohran into office must grow into a tidal wave, i.e. a wave Ossé wants to surf into his next job. Then again, many DSAers despise the left-centrist Hakeem Jeffries, who only endorsed Mamdani shortly before Election Day and is backing multiple moderate Democrats in order to win a House majority next year. We'd be happy to see the DSA fall into internal warfare as various factions battle over prioritizing the fight to capture retiring Representative Jerry Nadler's seat or to oust insufficiently anti-Israel Representative Dan Goldman, or maybe take out Queens Democratic boss Representative Greg Meeks. It's amusing to watch one-time firebrand AOC play the responsible stateswoman and to track Mamdani's attempts to pragmatically work the halls of Albany to win his tax hikes and any other loose cash that can fund his $10 billion first-year plans. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? What Zohran and AOC are doing is that they are trying to take a more pragmatic approach. And the reason why they're doing this is because of the fact that they know that their socialist hopes and dreams can only come if the Democrat establishment gets on board with it. Well, what does that mean? Well, what it means is that, for example, Kathy Hochul has already came out and said that she's not going to tax the rich, that they can't afford to provide free buses for everybody. Okay. Zohran's campaign promises are not affordable. They can't do it unless they raise taxes. So Zohran has to play ball with establishment Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Kathy Hochul in order to at least get a little bit of what he promised New Yorkers. Because if he can't deliver on these promises, then it's going to be an absolute disaster. And he knows this.
And the other one, you're talking about fast and free buses and you're meeting with the governor. I've heard you talk about many times that you don't want to take money away from the MTA. You want to put money back in. It's something that she agrees with, right? We don't want to take away money from the MTA. How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MTA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made, whether it's the corporate tax or whether it's the personal income tax on those who make more than $1 million a year or more. I think that these are the clearest ways. I've also said that if there are other ways to raise this funding, the most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we do it, but that we do it.
Yeah, so in plain English, what you're hearing from Zohran is reality, right? A huge reality check, which is that, wait, hold on. I can't actually accomplish any of the stuff that I promised because I don't have the support. So this is why he's not getting on board with the full-blown takeover of the Democrat Party by the Socialists, because he knows that that's probably not going to help him get what he wants. This is also why you're seeing him go from, oh, I'm going to be Trump's worst nightmare, to meeting with Trump at the White House.
My administration would be Donald Trump's worst nightmare. I have many disagreements with the president, and I believe that we should be relentless and pursue all avenues and all meetings that could make our city affordable for every single New Yorker. I intend to make it clear to President Trump that I will work with him on any agenda that benefits New Yorkers.
Yeah, so again, what we're witnessing here is a full-blown reality check for Mamdani the commie, that promising a bunch of free stuff, everything is going to be free, actually comes with a cost. And you have to convince people, right, other people who actually have real power in order to get what you want. So that's why I went from, I'm going to be Trump's worst nightmare, to, well, I'm going to have to work with Trump, right? Because he realizes that, you know, the governor and the president of the United States and the leader of the Democrats in the House actually have more power than I do. That I'm really a nothing as mayor of New York City, right? That the mayor of New York City really doesn't have that much power compared to the real power players, right? He's learning his place in real time. So that's why you're seeing AOC and Zohran pump the brakes on the Democrat civil war, despite the fact that they won, right? So they got into positions of power, and now all of a sudden they're saying, we're pulling the ladder up. We're not letting the rest of you lunatics and comrades try to take over the Democrat Party, because we need to make sure that we can save ourselves, right? That our campaigns and that our time in office doesn't tank because we can't accomplish what we promised that we were going to do.
Because AOC in 2018 knocked out Joe Crowley, who was the caucus chair, on his way to becoming speaker. When he's knocked out, there's then an election to replace him, and it was Barbara Lee versus Hakeem Jeffries. And you know, AOC got behind Barbara Lee. It was a pretty close contest. You know, lost by 10 or 20 or so. But Hakeem Jeffries, who was Crowley's deputy, you know, takes the caucus chair position, and then is next in line, and that's how he, you know, eventually becomes leader. So to go from there to then, well, it's not time to take him on, I think it's, you know, it's got to be frustrating for a lot of people. But like you said, they're making a different calculation. Like Mamdani at this point wants to take on real estate developers. He's got his agenda that he ran on. He wants to get that accomplished, and he sees that going after Jeffries as not just a distraction, but maybe a hindrance. My counter argument might be sometimes the best defense is good offense. Like if you've got Jeffries on his heels, and if you've got Jeffries and his allies then defending this position, then maybe they have less time to mess with you the whole time in City Hall. So, I mean, so just, even if it's all about pragmatics, and we're not revolutionaries here, maybe pragmatically going on offense might work. Like, when has backing off helped?
I'd say never. I tend to agree with your assessment. You know, Mamdani's in the position to where he's not just governing for himself. He's governing for a collection of ideas, and for an approach to politics to where he is sort of proof of concept of something. And if it fails, he will be the example that it cannot work.
But regardless, that's not stopping the socialists from still attempting to take over the Democrat Party. The Mamdani revolution comes for House Democrats. House Democrats are facing a surge of progressive primary challenges inspired by New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani that lawmakers say shouldn't be lightly dismissed. Yeah, haven't I been talking about this for like a year, right? Haven't I been talking about this for a year? Haven't I been saying that, yeah, this is the civil war that's going to play out within the Democrat Party? And if Zohran wins, the far-left lunatics are going to be emboldened, and they're going to be trying to take out all of these Democrats. There's a clear burst of anti-establishment energy in the Democratic Party right now, and the left is eager to test its limits and see how much power they can capture in New York, D.C., and elsewhere. Representative Mark Pocan said he had been predicting at least 30% of House Democrats would face primaries, but now that number might turn out to be even higher. Quote, "You can just tell it's the year people's hair is on fire. They just feel like they've got to do something." The former Progressive Caucus co-chair told Axios, "People are pissed and they're sad. They're concerned." Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you caused this, right? You gaslit these freaks into believing that Trump is Hitler, right? So yeah, of course they're going to try to take down Democrats because Democrats created this monster. You created the monster and now you got to deal with it. So again, we're going to see what happens. But now we could possibly be looking at a full-blown civil war between the socialists, the base, who are already upset that Zohran and AOC are trying to pump the brakes on the full-blown takeover of the Democrat Party. So again, this is a fascinating set of developments. We're going to see ultimately what happens. But my gut feeling is that Zohran, this is not going to be his first reality check, that a lot of the stuff that he promised people that he was going to be able to do, he's not going to be able to do it. And because he's not going to be able to do it, that's going to be a disaster for him. And that's, again, what happens when you vote for these people who just promise free everything, free stuff, right? Turns out it's not so easy. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share it. A Black conservative perspective. Peace.